Former Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy has met multiple times with a team that Dallas is scheduled to face in 2026. That detail alone reframes his current coaching journey through a lens of consequence rather than coincidence. McCarthy's name resurfacing is not simply about nostalgia or reputation. It speaks to how the league continues to value experience, particularly in moments of organizational uncertainty. While Dallas moves forward under new leadership, McCarthy's career arc appears far from finished. In fact, it may be entering a more reflective and strategic phase. According to reporting from A to Z Sports Nashville insider Easton Freeze, McCarthy has emerged as a serious figure in the Tennessee Titans head coaching search. This is not a courtesy interview or a resume checkpoint. The nature and depth of the meeting suggest genuine interest on both sides. For Dallas, the implications are indirect but notable. A former head coach potentially returning to AT&T Stadium on the opposing sideline adds narrative weight to a matchup that would otherwise blend into a long schedule. The NFL rarely ignores such storylines. More importantly, McCarthy's reemergence forces a broader reflection on how coaching separations age over time. What once felt like a definitive ending can quickly become a transitional pause in a league that constantly reassesses value. What the Titans' interest really signals. Publicly, it was known that McCarthy would interview for the Titans' head coaching vacancy. What was not fully understood was how early and how often those conversations took place. According to Freeze, McCarthy's recent visit was not his first engagement with Titans leadership, but rather part of an ongoing dialogue. Sources indicate that McCarthy spent multiple days with the organization, including a dinner with team leadership and an extended visit at St. Thomas Sports Park. These details matter. Multi-day visits are rarely extended to candidates who are merely being explored on the surface. The reporting also reveals that Titans general manager Mike Borgonzi and president of football operations Chad Brinker met with McCarthy early in the process. That early in-person meeting reportedly went very well, establishing a foundation that later interviews built upon rather than introduced. This level of engagement suggests the Titans are weighing stability and experience alongside schematic vision. McCarthy represents a known quantity in terms of leadership style, organizational structure, and long-term planning. For a franchise seeking direction, that familiarity can be attractive. While the Titans have publicly defined other candidates as finalists, McCarthy's continued presence indicates he occupies a unique category. Not officially a frontrunner, but clearly not an afterthought either. Finalist status and the politics of coaching searches. Officially, McCarthy is not labeled a finalist under the Titans' current framework. Only one of his meetings qualified as a formal interview, and the team has identified 3 candidates set for in-person finalist interviews. That technical distinction, however, does not tell the full story. The Titans' declared finalists include Robert Saleh, Matt Nagy, and Jeff Hafley, each bringing a distinct profile and schematic background. On paper, these names align more clearly with modern league trends. Yet coaching searches are rarely decided strictly on paper. McCarthy's situation highlights the gray area between formal process and informal influence. Multiple meetings, extended visits, and early engagement often carry more weight than a single structured interview. Front offices do not invest that time without serious consideration. Freeze notes that heading into Monday, McCarthy appears to be no better than a third-place option. That assessment reflects the current standings, not a final verdict. Coaching searches can pivot quickly, especially when ownership dynamics enter the equation. In this sense, McCarthy remains very much alive in the process. Not as a favorite, but as a candidate whose experience and presence continue to challenge the presumed hierarchy. Dallas, separation, and the weight of unfinished business. If McCarthy were to secure the Titans' job, the timeline would align for a compelling reunion. Tennessee is scheduled to visit the Cowboys in 2026, setting the stage for a matchup layered with subtext. These moments resonate in a league driven as much by narrative as by performance. The separation between Dallas and McCarthy last year was not rooted in collapse or scandal. It stemmed from an inability to agree on contract length, a business decision rather than an emotional rupture. That distinction softens the idea of revenge, but does not erase competitive edge. Dallas ultimately hired Brian Schottenheimer as head coach, signaling a philosophical shift rather than a repudiation of McCarthy's tenure. Still, former coaches facing their old teams inevitably carry added motivation, whether acknowledged publicly or not. For the Cowboys, such a matchup would serve as an informal measuring stick. Not of who won the breakup, but of how each side evolved afterward. Coaching legacies are often reframed by what comes next, not by how things ended. McCarthy returning to AT&T Stadium as an opposing head coach would not rewrite history. It would simply add a new chapter to a relationship that remains unfinished in subtle ways. Broader implications beyond one hire. Beyond the immediate storyline, McCarthy's candidacy underscores how fluid coaching reputations remain in the NFL. A coach can exit one organization amid uncertainty and re-enter the market with renewed leverage. Time, context, and perspective reshape perception. For Tennessee, choosing McCarthy would represent a commitment to experience and structural leadership. It would also signal patience, given that his strengths often emerge over sustained timelines rather than instant transformation. For Dallas, the possibility reinforces how interconnected the league truly is. Decisions made today echo years later, sometimes across sidelines. Coaching moves are rarely isolated events. Even if McCarthy does not land the Titans' job, his multiple meetings suggest his name is once again part of serious conversations. That alone alters how his Cowboys' tenure will be viewed in retrospect. In the end, this story is less about revenge and more about continuity. The NFL does not close doors quietly. It leaves them slightly open, waiting for the right moment to swing again.